I did. I got a note. There we go.
There we go. Great. Okay, thanks for hanging with us while we work through some technical things. Welcome everyone to the REBA, what is this, our fifth annual Physical Immortality Day, and we celebrate this on November 15th in honor of Leonard Orr's birthday. REBA, Rebirth International Breathwork Association, was founded by myself, Peace Arnold, and Heike Strombach in 2020. We came together and it just made sense for us to work together, as we'd been longtime core supporters of Leonard and his mission. And Heike had already established Rebirth International in Germany in 1997. So we just kind of reorganized ourselves and are working through that platform to really promote and preserve and continue Leonard's brilliant offerings to the world through the modern day breathwork movement. It's just a fantastic gift to humanity. Even though, connected breathing has probably been with humanity since the dawn of creation, it's part of our natural, healthy way of being in the body. He did rediscover it in the late 60s and really popularized it and founded the modern day movement. So virtually every form of therapeutic breath work finds its roots with Leonard and his work. And of course, he's also well known for popularizing physical immortality. And we're here to talk about that controversial topic for some, totally fun and uplifting for others, and just to support you wherever you are on your path with that, and to share ideas, inspiration, and energy around that. So Heike, I want to thank you for being our master of ceremonies all day long. You've gone through every time zone and several languages in the world, and you're still going strong. So thank you for everything that you've done to build the movement alongside with Leonard. You worked with him 27 years?
Yep.
Yeah, building communities and just working and giving in deep service. So thank you. I want to recognize and honor you for that as well. And Peace, Virginia Arnold, also you for all of your years of dedication to our community and really being our community mama and keeping lines of communication open. And then we have Kira here with us also, who's just been brilliant with logistics and connections and keeping our inspiration pretty high. So I want to ask, well, Heike, is there anything you want to say before we start with?
Just happy birthday, Leonard. And you.
Yeah,
and
happy birthday, Leonard.
We already had a beautiful meeting this morning with Kira and Joanne Eisenman from Australia, and so that was a beautiful meeting. Heidrun and I had a German meeting, and that was beautiful too. So this is the third meeting for today, and Irene Jovi Baumann and Armando Sanchez are preparing the Spanish meeting that will be happening at 8. So yes, I think Leonard is happy with his birthday. So let's see what we can come up with. Thank you.
Thanks, Heike. So we've got Anne with us here today, Anne Sermons-Gillies. Did I say that right? You can go ahead and unmute yourself here. And if you want to maybe just give a brief introduction of how you came into all of this work and to Leonard, and a little bit about who you are for maybe people that don't know you or are new.
So this is our introduction. This is not when we talk about physical immortality.
Well, we will, yeah, but maybe just give us a little brief intro about yourself first. Yeah.
Okay. I first met Leonard, well, I met him through Babaji, in that I went to a friend's house and there was a picture of Babaji on the wall. And this was in the 80s, maybe the early 80s. And I was really enamored by this picture. It's like, who is this? And he had these stripes, and I was desperately searching for everything possible. And so somebody said, well, that's Leonard Orr's guru. And I was going, who is Leonard Orr? Well, I found out about rebirthing. And then I had a friend who was a rebirther. And I think I first rebirthed in 81. And then I had another rebirther that came to town and he taught us. But he said that Leonard was going to be in Atlanta. And I said, oh, that's great. I'm going to go to Atlanta and hear Leonard, or I really want to hang around with people that have the same values or people that can teach me something. And they said, well, why don't you just invite him here? And I thought, well, I guess I will. So I had a spiritual center at the time called Connection, and he came. And then he came for several years. After that, he continued to visit. He would stay in my home and he would teach. And so that's how I met Leonard.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks. Yeah. So do you want to talk with us a little bit about physical immortality and what that means to you and your journey with that?
Oh, we're going to go on and talk about that now.
We can go right in. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I know we have to leave early today, so we're gonna go
Okay,
right to you, Anne.
Well, there's a couple of things that Leonard taught me that are precursors to physical immortality. And I was really struck by him because he said, take care of your mind. Now, that seems like it's just so elementary for us right now, take care of your mind. But at that point in my life, it was really revolutionary. It was like my mind needed tending to, and there was something I could do, and that I was a gardener. I needed to take care. And the other thing that he said, and I was thinking, oh man, I've got the key to life now. The other thing he said was that you have to keep your energy moving. And it's like, okay, I've got it. Take care of your mind and keep the energy moving. And so how do you keep the energy moving? You keep the energy moving with your breath. And of course, we can do it with thoughts and affirmations as well. And so in terms of physical immortality, what my thoughts are is that in order to be a physical immortalist, in order to live forever, we have to want to live forever. And I had a client who had a brain tumor, and she operated on it. It was successful. She was 5 years clear. But after about the 6th year, the tumor came back, and it was very aggressive. And so I would try to get her to say that she wanted to live, and she would say the words, but the will to live was not there. And so she died, even though she said the words that I want to live. And even though I gave her, the affirmations and the thoughts and everything, we could never really get down to that place where she wanted to live. And that is really the most important part of physical immortality. I've seen people that died, and I feel like they were avoiding life because there were things in their lives that were so unpalatable. And there was a friend of my sister's was told that he had terminal cancer, and he quit his work. He didn't really like what he was doing. He bought a sailboat and sailed around the world. Well, he had terminal cancer. They said, no, you're not going to live. So he charged his credit cards up and everything. He was so happy when he got out of the job that he didn't like, and he did what he really loved in his life, that he lived. I don't know that if he's still alive today, but I do know that he moved from that state of not wanting to live. And so to me, that's absolutely essential. And so that means that as we look today in a world that we may not agree with, we don't like what's going on, that we have to find something that allows us to want to breathe, to want to be who we are. I just happened to be studying the Vedas a little bit, and in Sanskrit, the word Atman is really the divine self. And what is interesting about the root word of this word Atman is it means to breathe. Atman means to breathe. And also, if that's the root word, but the meaning of the word Atman is the divine self, the divine self. And the root word for divine actually means to shine. And so if we look at Atman, we might say that who we are, our very identity is the shining breath. That is what we as the self are, the shining breath. And so what does physical immortality have to do with life today? I have always questioned the idea of living forever in a physical body. But I do like the idea of being able to body hop a little bit. If I'm going to take that as physical mortality, you know, maybe I could get into a different body, one that didn't have scoliosis or whatever, all the little things that I didn't have. So I find that very appealing. I think that as all of you, I'm sure, would have agree with me, and that is the most important part of physical mortality, really is the belief that death is going to kill us, is a belief that will definitely kill us and it'll bring disease into our lives. And the best way to avoid this is to think of life-sustaining thoughts. Now, I believe in this principle so much that I actually wrote a book called Words Make a Difference about the affirmations that can help enliven us. And so I think that that's pretty much all that I have to say about physical immortality. I can say that my life urges are stronger than my death urges, and my life urge, therefore my life urges sustain me. I absolutely love that. And I think we can take that affirmation to the bank. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne. There's so many gems in what you shared. I love that affirmation, I am alive now, therefore my life urges are stronger than any death urges. And as long as I continue strengthening my life urges and weakening death urges, I'll go on living in eternal youth and healthfulness forever, health and youthfulness forever. And Leonard was really big on saying that he has a whole list of affirmations around physical immortality, body mastery. And he describes each affirmation as being like an angel that can save us when we really, really need it. And I've had experiences in breath work and in consciousness and into my own death urge where that affirmation absolutely worked for me like an angel and carried me through some very frightening moments and in very intense breath sessions. So
yeah, I wanted to say that I did put a little section that I got permission from Leonard in my book to use his affirmations. And the one that I really love, it was about the body, and I think in food, and that is that my body is my most valuable possession. I love that affirmation too.
that's beautiful. Yeah, yeah. I'd love to connect with you about your book and get some more information on that. We can provide a link for people listening who want to learn more from you. Thank you. And I'm realizing too, I haven't done any breathing exercises yet. It makes sense to maybe move into that since I just love that, the divine Atman, where the shining breath. I feel like that's so true of this community of people that have followed Leonard's teachings and work and are really living the principles and doing the breath work and healing with the elements and working with their mind. They are shining lights in this world. They're my happiest people to hang out with. And so shall we do some breathing? Keep the energy moving? All right. So we're going to do 20 connected breaths. I think Leonard developed this, I don't know when, in the 70s. And we're going to start just 20 connected breaths in and out through the nose. And so for anyone listening or watching a replay who, if this is new to you, connected breaths is just pulling in on the inhale and then completely letting go and relaxing the exhale without holding it in or forcing it out. So it's a really balanced, like you're pulling back on a bow and arrow, and then on the exhale, you let it go and it leaves your body effortlessly. And connected means that the exhale is merged with the next inhale. So there's no gap in between. You're not holding your breath in between exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. So it's 4 short. And then 1 long, deep breath. Pulling it in as deep as you can. And we repeat that. That's 1 set, and we repeat it 4 times. So go ahead and just moving at your own pace. You can count along with me if you want. Try to keep rhythm with me. You may need to go to a different rhythm, but we'll just do 20 connected breaths in and out through the nose. Ready? Go. And just notice how you're feeling. Notice if you can take a deeper breath more easily. Now we're going to do 20 connected breaths through the mouth with the mouth open. Really relax your jaw. And this just helps move some emotional energy. Ready? Go. Yawning is totally welcome. And now you can place your tongue between your teeth, kind of wrap it in front of your front teeth, right behind your upper lip, like a little monkey face. And this is going to really ensure that you're not locking your jaw. It helps relieve tension in the jaw. And breathing in and out through your nose. Do 20 connected breaths again. Just take a moment, notice how you're feeling in your body and in the space around you. We're going to do 20 connected breaths in and out through the nose, but this time we're going to do it very quietly and very softly. Try not to make any noise, but feel the energy connected and flowing. Just feel that softness and space around you, or any sensations you might be feeling in your body. We're going to move into alternate nostril breathing. So in this, this is a simplified version of the pranayama, alternate nostril breathing. You use your thumb and your ring finger. So you're going to first block your right. Yeah, so kind of like hang loose, but then lift your ring finger up. You can use your thumb to block your right nostril. And inhale through the left. And hold for a moment and exhale through the right. You inhale through the right nostril. Hold for just a moment and exhale through the left. That's one set. We'll repeat that 3 times. This exercise you can do, I've done it as long as 15 minutes. It's very balancing for the masculine and feminine energies in the body, the right and left hemisphere, the Ida and Pingala, Kundalini energies. So now we're going to do this again, the alternate nostril breathing, but this time After you inhale to the left and then hold, and you repeat the mantra Om Namah Shivaya 3 times as you hold your breath, and then exhale. Then inhale through the right, repeat the mantra 3 times, exhale. That's 1 set. Here we go. Okay, and just give yourself a few nice deep breaths. Maybe feel your feet on the floor and just notice how you feel now compared to when we started, before we started the breathing. And the invitation is to feel into the silence of your own divine being. Just be present to that space between thoughts. Maybe you're there now, just drifting in that quiet, infinite being. Feeling the silence of that infinite grace that is your own precious divine being. And remember, you can use breath at any time, in any place, to help you access that silence and space between the thoughts. Great job. Thank you for participating. I can feel your energy on your beautiful faces. One of my favorite quotes from Leonard that I feel totally relates to physical immortality is that the mind and the breath are the king and queen of human consciousness. And I've been meditating on that and practicing that for over 20 years now. And working with the mind and the thoughts and the identities and our consciousness, our unconscious death urge, finding out what is in there and what we've been conditioned to believe that maybe we don't even know that we don't know is there running the show. Becoming aware of that through, various techniques of, affirmations, or certainly through breath work, and breath work can be a purging of those, has been elemental in establishing myself in the consciousness of physical immortality and opening my mind up to new ideas and to that possibility and that potential, and looking at ideas of why I wouldn't want to live forever and why would I want to live forever. And that's a topic of discussion that we can open up here. Why would we want to live forever? But to stay with this, the mind and the breath are the king and queen of human consciousness. They work immaculately well together in breath work. Breath, I think it was Deepak Chopra that said, breath is the movement of thought. So if you're stuck somewhere in your life, if you're stuck in a thought system or an identity or a story, breathing will literally move your consciousness and move your thoughts into higher thoughts. It may go deeper into painful thoughts, but you can heal just lifetimes of trauma and human conditioning in a single breathing session. And then when you combine that with the power of sitting with fire, of having a conscious relationship with water and bathing, nutrition, earth, and exercise, I really see these are 4 wheels of the immortal machine. You've got to have them all together. The mind, the air, earth, air, water, and fire. Earth being exercise and nutrition, air being conscious breathing and healing your breathing rhythm, healing your own breathing mechanism, and learning to breathe energy as well as air. Water, conscious relationship to water, bathing twice a day, and fire, a conscious relationship with fire. And Leonard said that the elements can heal the mind faster than the mind can heal the mind. And I absolutely have found that to be true just by spending time with the fire, spending time breathing, spending time in the water. You can't think your way into that level of clarity as you can with the elements. But I've also been thinking of Leonard and the space that I experience him still living in, and the space that I experienced him in a physical body. So many of us were drawn to Leonard just from his pure energy and being and aliveness. And I really experienced him as living in that space between the thoughts. He was, most of the time, very clear and peaceful and just in this high energy. And I could feel my energy, my own Kundalini energy activating and aliveness activating, sometimes my garbage and purging and emotional things activating. But I think that's why many of us loved Leonard and maybe also had a very difficult time with Leonard, because he was a pure presence. And there's something about physical immortality that goes beyond the mind and the breath, that is just being in that silence and in that pure state of being. And it's an energy and a spaciousness and a vibration that encompasses the mind and encompasses the breath, but moves beyond it. And so for me, being in those states and having those experiences, and I want to say, raising my own vibration high enough that I can then meet and receive beings or ascended masters or gurus that are in that vibration that can then appear to me, and I can have a conscious relationship with them, which I've done in my life. That's the only way I can talk about physical immortality and have it live for me. So that's where I'm coming from regarding it. And I'd like to, pass the baton along. I feel like I've been talking a lot. I'd love to hear from anyone that has something to share or add or questions. Kira, if you have anything you want to piggyback off on that piece, you do? Okay, great.
So listening to the conversations this morning, what I have are more, kind of stimulated, questions to meditate on and contemplate. And one of them is the connection between built-in obsolescence as in our society. That seems to be the way, we're moving, and how that, just one possibility is to consider, maybe not at this moment, but something to think of is how that's impacted us. And it can feel a little hopeless to have an effect on the larger consciousness that's driving that idea of built-in obsolescence and the throwaway society.
Can you translate that word for me? Obsolescence is not something.
They build things today to break soon, rather than, like old refrigerators would still be running, but the new ones break quickly.
Obsolete. They become
obsolete, out of date. So, and then the other thing is, when Sarah, you asked, there's an exercise we've always done is, why wouldn't you want to live forever? To kind of bring up the thoughts that are obstacles. But then you said, why would you want to live forever? And that just brought up a whole bunch of ideas. And one is, maybe there are certain level, in the same way that a prosperity consciousness is a consciousness that allows you to start from scratch, right? That mastery, levels of mastery is to start over from nothing. So maybe a level of mastery of physical immortality is to be able to build that new body the way Haidakam Babaji, appeared, build his body from how many yugas, how many thoughts. So that might be a level of mastery that's, probably Leonard would certainly be aiming toward. And the other thing is, I remember thinking at one point that, well, maybe I should just start over with a fresh body rather than go through all the effort of trying to repair the damage that's been, to this one. And then I very clearly heard, well, you think that's easier only because you don't know how to do it. But if you knew how to do it, it's really easier to dematerialize and rematerialize. We're actually dematerializing. Every cell of our body is dematerializing and rematerializing. So once we know how to dematerialize and rematerialize in a healthy way, that it's actually would be easier to keep this body rather than to be reborn through the human birth, death, and birth cycle and recycle. So and it's just interesting, recycling versus rebuilding. So that's all I really want to say. I have a lot to play with now.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think
Thank
that's really common. Like there's this, it's like humanity's in this mass hypnosis where we think the body is a source, that the body has its own power and is the source of who we are, or we're limited by it. Like we're in this physical body and it's like a prison, and we're trapped on earth and it's this terrible teaching ground. Like we're just here to learn or suffer, or, there's so many like really heavy thought systems in the human consciousness, the collective consciousness. Whereas physical immortality, we're looking at as like, I am the eternal spirit, and eternal spirit is in constant play with physical form, physical matter. And I'm at the point where I think there is no separation. Like it's amazing. Like I may be able to remove my spirit from physical form, but my personal philosophy and belief is that we come back. It's this constant interplay of yin and yang, of Shiva and Shakti. Like they're one and the same. There is no separation. And there's a book series that Leonard used to sell from his bookstore called The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. I think I've mentioned this in previous years. And it's if you haven't read those series, it's fantastic. This team of scientists goes to India to discover immortal yogis and maybe even prove that they don't exist. And they end up traveling with this group into the Himalayas, and they're months into their journey before they realize they're traveling with the immortal masters. These people have been manifesting their food for them the whole their whole trek through the mountains. And it just goes into really consciousness opening ideas around what's available and what's possible in physical immortality. And we're like, I feel like, especially in the Western world, we're so entrapped mentally in this conditioning that you're born, you go through childhood, you go through adulthood, you work hard, you retire, and then you die. Like in this short arc of time, right now, I think it's like 75 years is life expectancy in the US. That's just like, we're babies, that's nothing. Can you imagine living 300 or 400 years? Could you imagine if Albert Einstein were still alive and lived on 300 or 400 years? What would he have accomplished? What level of mastery? What level of being, And so it is about unraveling this birth-death cycle and this hypnosis that we're in, this idea that my consciousness is, Leonard would say, your consciousness is where it is. And you think that, one option is reincarnation. You can get a new body and you think you'll get a new family and better circumstance and all of this, but your consciousness goes with you. And what's manifesting now is likely to manifest in the next body because your consciousness goes with you everywhere you go. So it's not like we're not looking at death or reincarnation as a way out. It's looking at taking total responsibility in the very best and healthy sense of that word for my physical body, for my spirit, for my consciousness, and advancing as far and as high and as wide and as loving as I can go. So those were the thoughts that, yeah, those are the thoughts that you sparked in me, Peace. Thank you. Kira, did you have anything you wanted to? I thought I saw you raising your hand earlier.
Oh no, I was fiddling with
Oh,
something.
okay.
But you know, I wanted to bring up Mary Baker Eddy, who
Yes.
Leonard introduced me to her work when I was in Stanton, and she cracked how Jesus did his healings. And just reading her work, I know that Christian scientists aren't physically immortal, but they consciously leave their body. If they truly follow their path, they consciously leave the body when they leave. So I've got from a training that I did with Leonard, a little part of her book, and I'll get it up on screen. Can you make me co-host for this?
Let's see if we can have two co-hosts.
So while we're working on that, Mary
Mhm.
Baker Eddy is the founder of Christian Science,
Mhm.
and Leonard would regularly go to Christian Science churches for prayer for their. Well, I trained in Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes, the United Centers for Spiritual Living. They also use the 5-step scientific method to prayer, and so he was very much into this. Great, there we are.
Okay, hold on a minute.
So that was a beautiful
Oh,
thing
it's
about
not in here.
Leonard, that he was curious
Yeah, sorry.
about what other people had to say. And so if people say this idea of physical immortality is just a stupid idea, they're not open to just exploring and thinking about it and taking the inspiration that it can bring. And Leonard was totally open for that. Yes, Kira.
Okay, so I'm going to transport you all back into time when you were at one of Leonard's trainings, and we'd sit round in a circle, or we'd sit in the training center at the table, and we'd read articles together. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph, and then I'll invite someone to continue. Footsteps of Truth by Mary Baker Eddy. Excerpt from Science and Health by Mary Baker Eddy. Man in science is neither young nor old. He has neither birth nor death. He is not a beast, a vegetable, nor a migratory mind. He does not pass from matter to mind, from the mortal to the immortal, from evil to good, or from good to evil. Such admissions cast us headlong into darkness and dogma. Even Shakespeare's poetry pictures age as infancy, as helplessness and decadence, instead of assigning to man the everlasting grandeur and immortality of development, power, and prestige. I'm going to invite Simon. Would you like to carry on with the next?
The error of thinking that we are growing old and the benefits of destroying that illusion are illustrated in a sketch from the history of the English woman published in the London medical magazine called The Lancet. Disappointed in love in her early years, she became insane and lost all account of time, believing that she was still living in the same hour that parted her from her lover. Taking no note of years, she stood daily before the window, watching for her lover's coming. In this mental state, she remained young. Having no consciousness of time, She literally grew no older. Some American travelers saw her when she was 74. No wrinkles nor grey hair, but youth sat gently on her cheek and brow. Asked to guess her age, those unacquainted with her history conjectured that she must be under 20.
Amazing.
This
Thank
instance
you.
of use
Oh,
preserved furnishes a useful. Okay.
sorry. I was, Frank, would you like to take over?
Yes, where are we?
Okay. No, this instance of youth.
Right. Okay, this instance of use preserved furnishes, my English, okay, a useful hint upon which a Franklin, nice name, might work with more certainty than when he coached the Jesus. It's difficult English for me. How do I say this, that word?
Hoaxed.
Hoax.
What?
Hoaxed.
Hoax, no, the other one.
Oh, the other one. Hold on, where are you?
Enamored.
Enamored.
Lightning from the clouds. Years had not made her old, because she had taken no cognizance of passing time, nor thought of herself as growing old. The bodily results of a belief that she was young manifested the influence of such a belief. She could not age while believing herself young, for the mental state governed the physical.
Wonderful. Thank you, Frank. Hydron, how about you? Would you like to? Impossibilities. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Loud child.
Ah.
Okay. Now you can hear me. Okay. Where we are now, the measurement of life.
Impossibilities.
Impossibilities. Okay. Impossibilities never occur. One instance, like the foregoing proves it possible to be young at 74, and the primary of that illustration makes it plain that descriptitude is not according to law, nor it is a necessity of nature, but an illusion. Okay. Shall I
Thank
read
you.
more?
If you'd like to, you can.
Yes, it is a little bit small
It's hard.
to read,
Oh, okay.
but I can try. The infinite never began, nor will it never end. Mind and its formations can never be annihilated. Man is not annihilated. Man is not a pendulum swinging between evil and good, joy and sorrow, sickness and health, life and death. Life and its faculties are not measured by calendars. The perfect and the immortal are the eternal likeness of their maker. Man is by no means a material germ rising from the imperfect and endeavoring to reach spirit above his origin. The stream rises no higher than its source. Yes.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Okay, Barry, would you like to continue? The measurement of life.
Little story about physical immortality. My first rebirther.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Would you like to continue reading?
Oh,
yeah.
Well, but you can share too.
Yeah. After we've done it.
all right. I'm having trouble with my phone reading so small.
Okay.
I can read.
Okay, thank you.
The measurement of life by solar years robs youth and gives ugliness to age. The radiant sun of virtue and truth coexists with being. Manhood is its eternal noon, undimmed by a declining sun. As the physical and material, the transient sense of beauty fades, the radiance of spirit should dawn upon the enraptured sense with bright and imperishable glories. Never record ages. Chronological data are no part of the vast forever. Timetables of birth and death are so many conspiracies against manhood and womanhood. Except for the error of measuring and limiting all that is good and beautiful, man would enjoy more than 60 years and 10 and still maintain his vigor, freshness, and promise. Man governed by immortal mind is always beautiful and grand. Each succeeding years unfold wisdom, beauty, and holiness. Life is eternal. We should find this out and begin the demonstration thereof. Life and goodness are immortal. Let us then shape our view of existence into loveliness, freshness, and continuity.
Wonderful. Thank you, Heike. So Leonard's comments, my own senility process, of course, lasted only 5 years due to the practices of spiritual purification with earth, air, water, and fire. Since then, perhaps a dozen or more of my friends have healed senility and the debilitating elements called old age. We are all vibrant and radiant beings who enjoy being productive. The practice of retiring either means waiting around to die or an opportunity to cover how to become immortal. The choice is yours.
Great. Thank you, Kira.
Yes. Stop sharing.
Yeah, I like to share something about my own process. And I realized just a few months ago that I did have allowed thoughts of aging into my body and the results of it. And so Leonard's passing on, it of course, it triggered a lot in me because he was my closest friend and buddy, and spending most of my time with him. And so there is the option now that I, or contemplating the idea that I follow. And so, okay, I need a new body. If he comes back, I come back also in a new body. But I realized, and I could feel the result in my body. Just contemplating the option that, you know, death is an option. It is an option. But it did something to my body, my structure. And so we do have to watch out what we put in there and how that manifests in challenges, in flexibility. Luckily, my organs are not affected, but just the thought makes the body contract. And physical immortality is the thought that I actually have power over that physical structure. And so this morning I was relating to something that Sri Aurobindo and the mother in this little book, Remaining Young, never stopped striving towards perfection. So if you watch the replay, you can read some of it, but I want to go into another chapter, which is even the body shall remember God. And so Aurobindo and the mother were always contemplating not just the immortality of the soul, but including the physical body, as I think Sarah said that before, into the conscious life of the eternal spirit. And that means that I said that also this morning, but I'm going to repeat it because I think it's really important. We are not talking reaching physical immortality, or at least I am not talking about reaching it just with my logical mind. It has to involve the higher consciousness, the I am presence. It has to involve the power, the grace of the divine. So just having replacements of body parts, or you know, everything that is done now with artificial intelligence, or you know, replacing bits by bits, that is not the immortality that I am thinking about. It is a transformation, and some of you mentioned that I am embodying that power that I am. And so how do I get to that power? That's a practical question. So I've started over the last years to meditate every day sitting. Leonard, at some point, he also said maybe he was always meditating in the bathtub. Are you going, Kira? Thank you for all the things today. Yeah, so he was always contemplating, how do I reach that consciousness? And of course, and some of you have mentioned that, it is the emotional healing that has to be done, because our emotional congestion, our trauma, prevents us from really feeling happy here and now, because our mind is so caught up with the hurt and the upset and the anger and the sadness and the grief, all the emotions that I have. And so when we read literature and great books about physical immortality, usually everybody talks about the transformation of and the perfection of my soul and of my personality, which is part of my individual collection of information that I have. So physical immortality is a very practical, day-to-day remembrance of who I truly am and my potential. And so Sarah was talking about the practices. The practices just help us to remember that core, that divine imprint that we have inside of us. And so when people say, oh, physical immortality, how stupid is that? It has nothing to do with stupidity. It has to do with striving for perfection. It is my desire to become more and more balanced, harmonious, loving, forgiving, tolerant, peaceful, and embodying that, and my body will radiate that out, and then it shines, like Anna said. So physical immortality is a very practical learning process, and not just a weird idea that has no base. And maybe we don't make it in this lifetime, that's okay. But we are setting the goal, and we can work on it, and Leonard I'm sure he will come back with that idea. If nothing else, he will come back with that idea that he wants to master his physical body, because it became the core of his thinking and his being. So it's a very practical experience, and dying or not dying is not missing the mark or not fulfilling it, but becoming a better, more beautiful, more shining individual divine spark.
I can speak to that a little bit. I mean, Leonard, to give an example, he says he healed his death urge the first time, was it in the late 70s? 78,
No, in the
I think.
60s, in the
In the
60s.
60s. And he believes that having that healing in his consciousness enabled him to go safe enough into the spontaneous, if I'm getting this right, Heike, you can fact check me here. If I remember
I can tell
correctly.
the story. I mean, he jumped over
Yeah.
a wall and he jumped into a broken glass splinter. And he was sitting there in the 60s and he felt he was bleeding to death. And so he had that physical experience that, life was running out of his body, and he realized that he had to make a choice.
And so he made that choice and healed his death urge, and he believed that enabled him, or his experience was that enabled him to feel safe enough. Anne has to leave. Thank you, Anne. Wonderful to have you here. Oh, she hopped out. Okay. It enabled him to feel safe enough to then go into the spontaneous birth memory regressions that he was having in his bathtub, I believe, to then rediscover the connected breathing rhythm to heal his birth trauma, and then become that presence that could bring in conscious breathing, connected breathing, the whole modern day breathwork movement that flowed in through him. So it's a very practical thing to master your own unconscious death urge, and to apply this work into building your own life urges, cultivating your own life urges and strengthening them. And something else that I feel is so important around this, and it seems like it's kind of just this ongoing theme through our whole call here, is that it's not about just thinking about it or the intellectual thoughts. There's an actual energetic teaching. Leonard would say he taught through energy. He didn't teach through words. A lot of people were very critical of his content or his seminars or whatever, or his methods, but he was teaching through energy. And it was absolutely that experience of being in relationship with Leonard and experiencing the impact that his energy had on my energy body and on my consciousness, and literally on what manifested in my body. I remember, I'll share a little story example of how this works. I couldn't have thought myself through this healing. I was staying at home in 2004. I was working for he and his previous wife, Isabel, and they were gone on a trip, and I'd been taking care of the home, the horses, the bookstore, everything, the phones, all the work there. And the day before, or a few days before they were to arrive, I had stripes, like bright red stripes, appear in rings around both of my ankles. And it was just inflamed and hurting. And I had this almost insane feeling of like, I don't want them to see me. I don't want them to see my ankles. I don't want them to see me like this. And I was afraid of them coming home and seeing me like in this state. It made no rational sense whatsoever. And within a few days, most of the stripes had disappeared. And there was just one left that I could kind of hide under my sock, when they came back. And later on in my progression through my healing, I came to realize this was a manifestation of my birth trauma. I came out of the womb, I wasn't breathing, I was held upside down immediately by my ankles and smacked to get the breath into me, right? And just by being in Leonard's space in his home, I was having physical manifestations like this. I was receiving so much energetically and healing so much energetically that I couldn't have thought myself through that. I couldn't have affirmed myself through affirmations through that. So there's this whole other reality. There's this whole other level of teachings that's purely energetic. And, for the skeptics who say, well, Leonard had this idea of physical immortality and he didn't make it. And so it's delusional, and it's, he was a fraud and all these things. Like, that's very narrow, limited thinking. Because first off, Leonard didn't invent the idea of physical immortality. That's been with humanity throughout our ancient cultures for eons. And many people have spoken about it before, but he popularized it, and he dared to bring that information into the Western world, which is so opposed to that in some ways. the human conditioning here. So he would say he taught with energy. And so there, we want to go and find the masters. We want to raise our vibrations through the elements and through the practices, through the breath and everything, that we can become students at a higher level. He was always pushing us and encouraging us to go and become students at a higher level of the masters. He'd say, you know, you don't follow me like until I've made it 300 or 400 years, then maybe you can. He wasn't into being a guru or a teacher. So I feel like don't stop at Leonard. Don't stop at that skepticism. Don't say, oh, well, he didn't make it, so nobody here can. Like, that's so narrow in thinking. It's okay to just open just a little bit and start to breathe into that space of there's something bigger happening for humanity here. Yeah, Sky, would you like to share? I see you have a hand up.
Sure, thanks, Sarah. Following on from what you just said, 10 years ago or so, I was introduced to the name Babaji, having probably never heard it before. And on the day I was introduced, as I was walking back to the train station with a meeting with the individual who introduced me, Babaji started talking to me and introduced himself. And from there, I read Physical Immortality a few times and began a process that went beyond the intellectual and thinking and other methods of deconditioning that I had been applying on myself, and applied breath and other methods of purification. And gradually, from reading Leonard's work and from others, began to look at all of the assumptions that I had ever been making, and to look at all of the concepts that I had been living inside of, and to then say, well, do I actually want to choose this idea, this concept, which all our speakers have touched upon today? And gradually, the identification with the body lessened, and I kept on doing the purification processes, and now look at least 20 years younger than I did 10 years ago. And the more I am in the breath and the less that I actually say that I identify with the body, I know that I know that I know now I'm not the body, I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the concepts, I'm not even really the breath. That just animates the body at the level of the I am. And I'm not that, I'm prior to that as well. So this has been the process. And at a certain point, I said, okay, following on from what Sarah was saying, I said, okay, I would like to be mentored and taught directly by Babaji and Divine Mother, Haida Kandeshwari Ma. And at the time, this seemed very far-fetched and, you know, really a little speck of dust like me being directly guided by an immortal master. And I kept doing the japa of repeating Om Namah Shivaya all day, every day for a few years. And Babaji started talking to me and sent me to various places. And I learned new modalities such as Jara, which is an ancient healing technology. And now Babaji and Divine Mother guide me whenever I turn off my thoughts, which I know that I'm not my thoughts, so why would I have them there? You know, why would you have anything in your life that isn't you, that you don't want to be there? And when Sarah and I were talking about Leonard a few days ago, you know, I felt to my right the presence of Leonard kind of as an energetic physical shape. So you could say that this was an example of Leonard's physical immortality. It was in a certain place in the room, and it had a kind of energetic consistency to it, like a kind of energetic form at least, and kind of oscillated between a physical body-like form and a column of light. And Leonard seemed to communicate with me. And we've been talking about him quite a bit recently. And when we were talking about this particular meeting the other day, we were talking about, oh, well, you know, what is there to say? What can I say? And Leonard again kind of appeared in my consciousness and said, well, you don't need to think about it. You know that already. Just spontaneously speak from the heart, and that's all there is to do. The right thing will come out. You already know that. And Babaji and Leonard were ringing in my left ear, which seems to be quite a common sign of the presence of the divinity, a ringing in the ear. And then this expanded to a bulb of light around my head of vibrating energy. So we can choose to connect with divinity. We just have to give up everything that isn't that. I asked the teacher once the quickest way to get to enlightenment, which seemed like a slightly cheeky question at the time, and the immediate answer came back, give up everything that isn't enlightenment. So if you want to reclaim divinity, give up everything that isn't that. Is the divine physical? Well, that might be an emanation of the physical, but the divine itself causes the physical. So the less that I choose to identify with the body, the more I enjoy the body and the more I enjoy being alive. You know, it's in the past when I thought I was the body, oh, I'm going to die, and all these other things that Leonard so gracefully and humorously dismantles for us and gives us new opportunities and doorways to step through. I became healthier. My skin cleared up. I felt happier, clearer, less involved in bad choices and deciding things and having bad ideas about myself. And it's so simple. Babaji teaches truth, simplicity, and love. Well, truth comes first. So what is the truth? Are you the body? No. Are you your thoughts? No. Will concepts help you? No. Will practical operational distinctions for life help you? Absolutely. But they're not concepts. Those are just ideas in the mind that don't have any reality or consistency or genuine, truthful meaning at all. And the truth is always simple and leads to love. And, you know, at the level of the I am, I can say that I'm fluid and dynamic, divine energy, always in a process of transformation. So why not, as other friends have suggested earlier, why not choose to be immortal, and why not choose to regenerate the physical body? There are countless examples of yogis and other beings in all kinds of situations and scenarios who've managed to accomplish this goal. Why not be guided by them? That's about it, really. But life is simple, very beautiful. I feel more alive now, just floating along as a little golden speck of Baba dust, and Leonard is present. You know, I feel like I can connect with him anytime now. So it's beautiful. And thank you for everything that you've shared. It's been wonderful to be here with you, and I've really enjoyed hearing your perspectives and experiences, and it's very valuable to hear the stories of those who have chosen to make the journey and disconnect from the inevitability of death. How ennobling, how beautiful, how honorable to be that kind of being and shine as an example of that. Incredible. Om Namah Shivaya, Bole Baba Ki Jai, Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai.
Yay.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Yes,
Thank you.
on the path, we are all like just beginners. And Leonard always had that humbleness. He also considered himself a beginner. So if we want to, at some point, accomplish this, we have to start someplace. And we have to go, we have to walk our talk. And the result is being a better and more connected divine being. So thank you.
I love what you shared, Sky. It's a really perfect demonstration of that we're supported and surrounded in divinity and divine beings and energy that is beyond the physical form. Like, we're clearly, this isn't all it. And I think in Western society, with all of the emphasis and glorification on intellect and the mind and the science and the concrete, you know, materialism and all of that, like to be able to open up in our consciousness and not lose our spirituality, our spiritual nature as human beings, I feel like that's the real calling for the Western world right now, to access their most innermost nature and their natural divinity, and to tap into all that encompasses. I mean, the ascended masters, and it just goes and expands out and out and out, as far as, once you start studying and learning in different cultures and religious histories, and setting aside all of the dogma and the strict, the teachings, but like looking at the mythical and mystical stories and experiences, and start opening your mind, more can come to you, more support will come rushing in, and it's available to all of us. So thank you. I'll stop there.
The physical happens inside of the spiritual, not the other way around, and that's
exactly
one of the basic misconceptions and misinterpretations that human beings, particularly in the West, seem to make. That first and foremost, we're spiritual, and the body is just something that exists inside of that, not something that the body conjures up or anything like that. It's primary. It comes before the body, and just that little switch and that inquiry and exploration and discovery process into that is really what's required. And the curiosity that Leonard expressed, well, that children have seemingly infinite energy. They're curious. It's just the now moment. They want to know everything. I want to know everything. Okay, well, let's be like that and inquire and explore and discover without limits, without assumptions, without expectations, and dismantle all of the misinterpretations and misguided little straitjackets that we've been saddled with, that we take for granted. They're not real.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Well, anybody who would like to share something is invited to share as well.
May I ask your favorite example of Leonard's expression of his physical immortality while he was alive?
Who are you asking?
Well, you perhaps first.
Well, his healing power, I would say. So he was dealing with cancer for many decades, and he could heal those spots. Not the last years, last couple of years, but before that, he had many scars of the cancer that he healed. He was working with the hoxotherapy and other modalities, and so just his observation of the practical results of what he was doing, and believing in it, and his trust that he radiated to other people. So when anybody had a challenge, his advice or his suggestions were always indicating the not just the chance or the opportunity to heal, but the outcome. For him, anything was curable. And he had example about AIDS that people have healed through the trainings, and we had many people that came to us with cancer. So his continuous improvements for himself and for other people, I find that and he was transmitting that in such a loving way, and in such an accepting way, also for the problems that people had. So for him, he wasn't paying attention to the negative. He was always paying attention to the outcome, where we can go with a change in perception, a change in thought, a change in habits. And he was always contemplating that. And his thoughts were, I've never heard his thoughts like, he was realistic. He wasn't just fantasizing something, but he was focused always on the best option that he could see for himself and for other people. So that was, he never bought into negative thinking.
Do you think that's a natural outcome on the path of physical immortality, that when one makes the choice, then spontaneous healing and rebalancing and integration takes place in the presence of such people, and that everyone does that?
Yes.
I think that Leonard's journey with that started in college, wasn't it? He had a born-again Christian experience that was very vivid and alive for him, that he made that choice and he made that connection within his own spirit and divinity, and seemed to really open the floodgates for him in consciousness and everything. And I mean, he was an advisor to Werner Erhard and the S trainings. He worked as an advisor and just built the prosperity, was considered the founder of prosperity consciousness. He popularized that. I mean, he just became this phenomenal being that I don't think humanity's had time to digest yet. There's so many things that just kind of exploded out of him. And to answer your question, Sky, some of my favorite things, well, I share some in my book. I wrote a book called Rebirthing the Phoenix, embodying the goddess through rebirthing breathwork and immortal master Babaji. And so I don't want to ruin the story if anyone out there is reading my book, but oh, you have a copy there. Thank you. There it is. I'll just say the word teleportation. I had a really fun relationship with Leonard around that. And also telepathy. Absolutely experienced his presence. Particularly when I stayed at his house, I would feel like, much like you described, I'd feel him in the room, checking and scanning what was happening on the property, checking and scanning what was happening with me in a very non-invasive way. It was totally fine. And then the phone would ring 5 minutes later. And I became really attuned to that because I stayed at his house for, I think, 6 months or off and on for however long. And so it was just like, oh, he's going to call, so I better find the phone. And then there he would be, and we'd check in. And that kind of telepathic relationship just continued from then forward. And for me also still does. I very much have the experience of Leonard popping in every now and then with like, hey, go this way, or that's a good idea. Or laughing at me, because we laughed a lot at our own cases and insanities. The mind and what could be in our consciousness. But and there was one instance where he returned from a trip overseas. I think he'd been to Spain, giving a training, and he was just coming out of what he described as his senility process and healing cancer again. And so this was his first in-depth 3-week training, and he came back from it and he looked really rugged. He looked haggard, not physically. I mean, he was just I could see lines on his face. His belly was bloated. He was very tired, and it was hard for me to be around him. I got wiped out. I would just feel like I was going to fall asleep within moments of spending time with him. And so he did a water fast for 3 days, and it was snowing outside. There was a foot of snow outside, but he was going outside every day to sit with the fire a couple of hours. He wasn't even under a dooney or shelter. He just went straight outside. He said, fire in the snow is one of my most favorite things. So and then he was sleeping by the fire inside of his house, and he was bathing twice a day and rebirthing himself in the bath. And at the end of those 3 days, he looked 10, 15 years younger. He was vibrant. He was energetic again. I could hang around with him and have a good time. So there's a lot of demonstrations like that. It's the same as you said, Heike, like seeing the scars where there had been cancer there and it healed. So many demonstrations of him in his own body in that way. And And I used to work as the lead trainer at his annual Return to the Sacred retreat at Sierraville, at Sierra Hot Springs in California, which he used to own. It was called Campbell Hot Springs in the 80s. I think that's where you met him, Heike. And he would tell stories of, that's a magical place. If you ever get the opportunity to go there and experience the water and the mountains and the wind and the trees, I feel like that's like a spiritual home for me. I kind of nicknamed it Babaji land. There's so much power out there in the nature. And so when he owned it, he took a year off from working and spent a year in the forest with fire and just doing the practices. And I spent some time at his house. I maintained a fire for, I think, 3 months in his home. And I know what that did for me and healing my death urge and my energy and my consciousness. I can only dream of what a full year of doing that would do. And he spoke about sitting in the bath. They're called the Phoenix baths at Campbell Hot Springs, and levitating in the water. Just, he realized at some point he was sitting in lotus position, levitating in the water. And I really don't doubt that for a moment. That's the energy and that's the dynamic that we have the potential to embody. And that really lives for me, thanks to Leonard. Yeah. So anything else that we want to cover? I see that we're an hour and a half in today. I don't want to miss anyone. Or Peace, I don't know if you're still with us. I see you've got your photo up. Is there anything, hi, anything you wanted to talk more about? You spoke just briefly earlier.
You have to unmute yourself, please.
You're unmuted there. Yeah, you're unmuted.
Unmute. Okay.
Yeah, there we are.
So I want to know if Georgiana Borda, I know has her computer on. I wonder if she's in front of it and might want to turn her. There she is.
In 3 minutes, I'm in a store. I've been
Okay.
listening and doing errands. In 3 minutes, I'd love to.
Please do.
Okay.
Share.
So she'll pop back in 3
Oh,
minutes.
she'll pop back in
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Yeah, she's
Okay,
inside a
very
store
good.
right now.
Okay.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about Georgiana and how you know her and what you know of her while she's...
Georgiana, I met through Leonard, of course. And she lives out on Long Island in Islip, and now has a little. She works with children in her professional capacity, and then she teaches yoga, Phoenix Rising, and has a little center, and has also a yogic guru who I'm not familiar with his name, but she's an absolute devotee of spirit and the healing arts. And I have gone out there and taught at her center. I've done trainings when I was doing the rebirthing trainings many years ago. She would organize those for me. And now I'm going out to work with people with grief recovery. But Georgiana is a total healing angel. She's just an angel walking, and she loved Leonard, and Leonard loved her. So that's why I would like her to have an opportunity to share. Very giving, very loving, joyful person. And that's how I know her. I'll be teaching, I'll be doing a grief recovery workshop at her center in January.
Fantastic. Great.
Yeah.
What a dynamic duo you've got going there.
Yeah. So at Long Island, it can be pretty intense, the energy on Long Island. So it's wonderful that to see her spirit and how she maintains that. She has fire going outside and drumming circles and salsa dancing.
Fantastic.
Lots of life enhancing activities out there, raising the joy quotient on the island. So yeah, I don't have too much to say today personally. I could have a lot to say, but within 2 minutes, no, I don't have anything a minute's worth.
Hey,
Here she
thank
is.
you.
Welcome.
There's a divine spark that's always guiding us. I had a harmonium lesson this morning, and I said, I really want to find the CD. So it forced me to go to the bottom, and I saw Leonard's CD. And I haven't come across that in a long time. And then I sent the information to Peace about the grief recovery, and she's like, we're doing physical immortality right day on the phone. And so I feel blessed that I had this little window to hear everybody and connect. And community I think is critical to build our life force, our group consciousness, our individual consciousness. So when Peace comes out, it feeds me deeply and nourishes me. So thank you for connecting me.
So what would you like to say about physical immortality? How does that fit into your consciousness and world?
Oh, it infuses everything. It infuses it infuses all my actions. I just love the principles because it really opens up our awareness. So for example, yesterday, it's in everything. So I just had my favorite longest patient pass away, and I went to my nephew who was having a hard time, and I just explained to him, I said, well, you're experiencing what's called the death urge. And I just started just to introduce the principles. And I said, it's a part of life, and everything is frequency. And then he told me about another fellow in school whose dad is in the hospital. So there's this divine spark, because remember, Peace, I said I wanted to bring grief recovery to the school system. And so anyway, long story short, it infuses everywhere. So I said, well, maybe he could come with us rock climbing, or I started this organization, Brentwood Association for Safer Streets, so I can get him free drum lessons for a month. So it infuses everything. When I see I'm going into my death urge, I call it out, and people are like, you're in your death urge? What does that mean? And I said, it's more about being aware of it. And I explained to people there's a continuum. And, at the one end, you're dead and you're not here anymore. At the other end, you can live, in this physical body, or because people are like, I don't want to be here forever on this planet, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I don't necessarily, I'm attached to only Earth. I said, I'd like the choice that I become a body of light, that I can disappear and reappear on another planet or another dimension or another place. To be limited to just one place and time, isn't as fun as the other options. So yeah, I mean, Leonard was, instrumental in shaping who I am. And the fire, I explain to people when we do fire, when we have drum circles, I'm like, sit by the fire, and this is a way to clean your energy body. And so I'm hoping, as Peace explained, that slowly transforming where I grew up into a retreat center. It's heaven on earth retreats. And so the first weekend or theme is all about introspection and noble silence and communication skills. And yeah, thank you for mentioning my guru, my first guru. I'm a guru junkie. I tell people all the time. I believe it's all those people who have mastered, I'll take the help from anyone and everyone. And it's always at the right time, and I don't believe they're involved in jealousy. It's my journey of who I want to connect with. And then the second week is fasting and raw foods, and looking at how to take care of the body as a temple, that it's more enjoyable to live in this place of our body. And then the third weekend of the month theme is everything about connection, partner massage, tantra, salsa dancing, just anything about improving connection with another person. And then the last one is life, death, and immortality. So I invite anybody on the call who, wants to help me with that segment and the future, to connect with me, because I feel seeing a lot of more people that need. I don't like to use the word need, but yeah, a lot of people need to be reminded of the possibilities, and we need to help one another get on that trajectory towards life, and remind one another. Yeah. So I love you, Peace. And I'm excited.
You too, Georgiana. Thank you so much for coming and joining today.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm gonna mute myself just because I'm walking into a hospital.
Okay.
But I'm gonna continue to listen.
Very good.
Wonderful to have you.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm listening to Georgiana speak. I do want to say one of the many things that Leonard, my exposure to Leonard that I loved, is that he really was about opening up for unlimited human potential and possibilities. So and I think that's the bottom line for me of physical immortality. In fact, it was one of my early conversations before I went to see Leonard. I had said, I don't know how I feel about this idea of physical immortality. I don't want to bring a negative or energy out there and he said, oh no, don't worry about it. Just if you're willing to contemplate it, because it's about removing all obstacles and opening up to unlimited possibility. And that's the whole basis of building a physical immortality consciousness, eliminating that very limiting belief that death is inevitable and beyond our control. And what would it be like, to live forever? Contemplate it. And so I hung up the phone and I contemplated it immediately. And what came up was, I can't afford to live forever. And that's when I realized that how programmed we are, and how money, the currency of money, has replaced in us the idea of the value of the currency of life energy as the currency, the true currency. So I think that is really when we realize that the true value is life. It kind of goes against the capitalist, the whole idea of how our society is running. But Leonard also used to say it was the most abstract idea that had the most power. So money is more of a symbol, has been the symbol of life. And I don't know, how do we tune into to life as the most abstract, idea, and bring that understanding that is the true value. And life creates everything. All the resources that we use money to barter and exchange is generated by life energy. Everything is generated by the energy. So yeah, I'm thinking as I'm speaking. That's all I want to say.
It's a wonderful piece, because you just bridged the gap between physical immortality and prosperity consciousness and local money systems and divine economics that Leonard was always speaking about, that people could never make that connection of, why is he talking about money? Like, I'm here to learn about breath work and spirituality, and this guy wants to talk about money. And responsible citizenship and enlightened citizenship and all these things. So that your story there is a wonderful, it just bridges the gap.
Yes.
So
and he loved playing money games. He loved playing with money, but it was a game to him,
Everything was that he was at games about life, because it's a grand adventure in consciousness and energy. That's where I really when I say Leonard and I laughed a lot, I mean it. Like it can be entertaining, you know, when you go into thought systems that are painful and there's grief and everything, there's always, with Leonard, for me, there was always the opportunity to expand out of that and laugh at the hilarity of it. Because here we are, these grand divine beings, totally unlimited, pure potential. We have the whole power of the universe behind us and everything we think, say, feel, and do. And we're like, oh, I didn't get that pony when I was 5 or whatever, like we're crying or, whatever. I mean, there's more painful stories that, so there's a balance between honoring the human experience with compassion and love and gentleness, and then also being able to expand out to the truth of your divine being and the greatness and the grandness of you and how vast and expansive you are. So it brings balance. Yeah.
Thank you. So I would say we have another 10 minutes because I need a little break between the Spanish and the English meeting to just
10 minutes.
Convert and this meeting and so, but I know that Sarah, you and Sky, you have something prepared for us. So
we were hoping to offer a Jara treatment, sweeping with peacock feathers, and it works at the level of consciousness at spiritual cause. We'd like to do that for the group. I don't know, Sky, can we do that in 10 minutes? Can we do a 10-minute mini?
Yeah, sure. Just do
15 minutes is okay, but I just need 5-minute gap because I think the Spanish people, some are
in the
coming
waiting
in.
room.
So then
Okay, well, let them in. They can get Jara.
Right. But I have to shut them out again.
Right. Oh, you have to close out the meeting to restart the Spanish group. Okay, that's okay. That's all right.
We can just do 10 minutes, Sarah. We'll just do 10 minutes of mantra 3.
Mantra 3. Yeah, that's great. Okay.
So as a brief introduction, Jara is a balancing energy technology that comes directly from Babaji, and it transmits energy from the divine realm. It can answer your questions. It can help with health issues, show the way for the next step in life. So feel free to ask for anything or raise any issue that's currently feels a bit thorny or that you would like some divine guidance with, and relax into it and see what happens. It can be quite spontaneous, maybe from feeling relaxed to all manner of seemingly miraculous things that we, of course, know are just divine science. So that's it. We'll push the time. So over to you, Sarah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so just sit back and be comfortable and just notice how you feel. Sweeping.
Thank you, Divine Mother and Babaji, for bringing us here together today. May this be a powerful and potent clearing and balancing transmission of the Jara energies for the highest full potential of all present. And may what is good for us be good for the whole earth.
I'm giving you the tip now because I know I'm going to be rushing later. You're welcome.
I guess people can do the mantra as well, and maybe the silent connected breathing to just tune into the energy.
Bole Baba Ki Jai, Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai, Om Namah Shivaya. Love and blessings to one and all, now and always. And may always be as long as we're around. Sarah or I can give you more information about Jara if you want to find out more about it. If anyone wants to get initiated, you can contact me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Thank you very much to both of you. Well, we've come nearly to the end. If there's any last words, anybody who hasn't shared any thoughts that you would like to share with the community, this is the moment for today. We're not finishing Leonard's birthday celebration. We will continue in Spanish. So if any of you speak Spanish, you can join Irene, Jovi Baumann, and Armando Sanchez. They have 7 rebirthers and 15 questions to each of them. So if you do speak a little bit of Spanish, I think you get a broad view of people that practice what Leonard taught. And is there anybody? Raise your hand or give us a sign. Okay, Heidrun, then just unmute yourself. You have just the last words. Simon, did you raise your hand? Okay, Heidrun.
Yes, I don't want to say so much, only that I'm very thankful to be with you here and to receive all these blessings, to be in the spiritual community. And just now I feel also as a blessing that in a way Leonard found out that, and we found out that I have been his mother in the last incarnation. And even though we had not had the best relationship and this birth was so terrible and all these things, so has come out of this so much wonderful grace and so much blessing for the world. And so I'm very thankful, at least, and touched to hear all this just now. And yes, I feel so much love in my heart for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, we
Happy
are on.
birthday, Leonard.
Yeah, we are on this journey together, and we keep meeting till we get it right, till we reach perfection, whatever that looks like. And thank you for everybody who has been here with us and sharing. And there are Spanish people come in, but I will finish this meeting.
Can we just sing Om Leonard, Celebrate Leonard one round?
Sure.
For his
Singing
birthday?
on Zoom is terrible, though.
It's terrible on Zoom.
Maybe Peace, you sing,
Okay.
because otherwise it goes. Yeah.
Leonard, celebrate Leonard, sing it with an open and a joyful heart. Om Leonard, celebrate Leonard, sing it with a joyful heart. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You can watch the replays, and thank you. And Leonard, wherever you journey is taking you, we are waiting for you to come back. Okay. Maybe I'll let everybody here in and just say we're okay. Thank you very much. Irene, I'm finishing the English meeting 1 second and I start a new meeting. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you.
Thank you. We will just finish this meeting and then I start new.